Come on.
43 years old. You get up, stiff neck and painful knees. Things aren't like they used to be.
Oi, det blir teit.
Syns du?
Ja.
You start noticing it. Are these the first signs? It happens to everyone, no matter where we are from or who we are. Death. Humans have always wondered how we are supposed to relate to this. We founded religions and created rituals. We research and philosophize.
If there are souls, where are they?
We depict it in art and in entertainment. We take life, we create life, and we lose those we love. Life and death on Earth are connected. Still, it is in our nature to fight for survival as long as possible.
Dette her bra for deg, vet du.
13.7 billion years ago, the universe is formed. About 43 years ago, Peter D is conceived. Death plays a part from the very beginning. Millions of sperm cells die. Only one reaches the target. We don't know precisely how it happened, but 3.6 billion years ago, the first life forms appeared on Earth. The first biochemical coupling, a molecule with the ability to duplicate itself. 8 years ago, a new life. Tonya. As surely as Tonya was born, she will someday die. Tonya's mother is already dead. Tonya and Peter have experienced how fragile life can be. Now they wish to learn more about death. How are they supposed to deal with it? Is it possible to keep death at bay? Why do we have to die at all? And what place does death have in nature?
The possibility of life after death is explored in Phoenix, Arizona by the Cryonics Society. They believe that cryobiology, the freezing of biological matter, is the answer. They propose freezing bodies in cold storage capsules. Scientists are mostly skeptical.
The dream of finding a cure for death has always been with us. In the 60s, some people started freezing their bodies after death, hoping that future medical technology would someday bring them back to life. So far, 270 people and a few pets have been frozen in this manner. Here at the Cryonics Institute in Detroit, we find a few of them, stacked in these tanks that are monitored at all times.
We're in the area where we store our patients back here. The cylinders hold 6 patients apiece, and that one holds 10. The one behind us holds 14. A lot of people ask when we expect revival to be possible. We don't know. First, we don't know if it is going to be possible. We expect it to be, and we hope it will be. And people estimate anywhere from 50 to 200 years. It could be sooner, it could be longer, it could be never.
For those of you who are skeptical to lying in a tank indefinitely, you can freeze a pet or a DNA sample of yourself.
It's a storage unit that holds pets and samples. We do store pets for our members, and we store tissue samples. It's a little bit difficult to see, but that's liquid nitrogen that they're kept in.
My outlook on life was always that it's too short. There's not enough time to do all the things we'd like to do. There's not enough time to study, learn. By the time you know anything, you're about to die. And the idea is that this is an ambulance to the future.
But is it really such a good idea to find a cure for death? Modern humans already live twice as long as they did 200 years ago. 200 years ago, the world population surpassed 1 billion people. Since then, we have multiplied at a higher rate than we die. If we were to stop dying, we would create huge problems. Not only finding space for all the new humans, but also with maintaining resources that are probably at breaking point already.
Biologisk set kan man vel sige, at meningen med livet, ja, det er at reproducere og skabe nyt liv, men også at dø og via sin død være med til at generere nyt liv her på jorden.
Life and death are connected in nature, and there is a similar balance within our bodies. Millions of new cells are formed every minute. To make space for them, the old cells must die. Otherwise, we would just keep on expanding.
Bare for å gi et tall, så kan man tenke seg at det er kanskje så mye som 1 million celler som dør hvert eneste sekund i kroppen vår.
Kari Espelin Fladmark is a cell biologist who is researching cell death.
Jeg tar bybanen bare i 5 minutter hver dag. Det er klart jeg kunne sitte og se på mennesker, og så kunne jeg tenke, ok, mens jeg satt disse 5 minuttene, så er det milliarder på milliarder av celler i din kropp som sitter der borte, som har dødd i løpet av de 5 minuttene. Så det er klart at hvis det er en feil der, så er det ganske katastrofalt.
For the body to function perfectly, the superfluous or malfunctioning cells are ordered to commit suicide.
Se her. Det perfekte menneske bevæger sig i et rum. Se ham. Se ham nu. Og nu. Se ham hele tiden.
The body uses apoptosis, or programmed cell death, to control how our bodies are formed.
Vanligste eksemplet på programmert celledød, det er hvordan hånden vår blir dannet under fosterstadiet. I utgangspunktet så er hånden bare en plate. Så skjer det at de cellene som ligger mellom det som kommer til å bli fingre, de dør. Hvis vi har for lite celledød, så kan det kanskje føre til kreft. Har vi for mye død, så kan det føre til sykdommer som rammer nervesystemet, som gjør at nerveceller dør.
Cell death is also connected to aging. Most of our cells have a limit on how many times they can divide. And eventually our body will start to break down. Science is working towards postponing and even stopping this breakdown. But we have yet to succeed in this. Most people die of old age and age-related diseases. But plenty of other things can kill us. And there are wide geographical variations within the most common causes of death. In some parts of the world, infection claims the most lives. Other places, hunger or violence. In Western countries, heart disease is the most common. Every day, 150,000 people die across the globe. And what we do with all the dead bodies is a challenge that continues to grow. Taiwan, one of the world's most populated areas. To buy a spot in a graveyard is so expensive that very few people can afford it. But if you leave the city and check into a hotel after dying, there's a better chance of getting a spot.
已经有点类似饭店的感觉了，就算是楼梯间，包括整个安全的设施，还有楼梯间的装潢，他们也会非常的讲究。
Chinbo Ta is one of the many graveyard buildings in Taiwan. And if you come here as a tourist, it's easy to get confused. Because here they have a dining hall and a 24-hour staffed reception. But those who check in here stay for a long time.
Hi. What's the price of the cheapest room you have? The cheapest room? What's the price?
Spør om det er badebasseng.
Over 7 stories, thousands of Taiwanese people lie effectively buried. The bereaved have key cards and numbers for the box that hold the urn of their loved ones.
所以其实不会觉得像以前那样阴暗的感觉，再加上现在大家对灵骨塔的那个采光的设计都是非常讲究的。请。
As in a normal hotel, the rooms come in many different price ranges.
那在这边我们看到佛祖的背后，就是我们基隆金宝塔最尊荣的位置——藏经阁。我们目前所在的位置就是我们宝塔里面最核心的地位。对，它其实目前现在看到的总共只有216个位置。那从刚刚外面没看到，就看到里面金光闪闪的。最主要是因为它整个面板是采用全透明的琉璃，里面再镶上 LED 的灯，所以常常会有一个客人就站在这个中间里面，他会觉得他好像在一个星辰里面跟他的家人对话。对，所以他很喜欢，很喜欢。
Men hvor skal vi bo da?
Nei, jeg vet ikke. Men $2000? Hva det der for noe?
The challenge of what to do with the dead really became a problem during the Industrial Revolution in the early 1800s. Cities were growing rapidly, and it was essential to find hygienic methods for disposing of the increasing amounts of dead people. One solution was to create large graveyards on the outskirts of cities. One such graveyard is Cimetière du Père Lachaise, the world's most famous graveyard. More than 1 million people have been buried here. It is famous for some of its permanent residents, such as Oscar Wilde, Edith Piaf, and Jim Morrison. But as Paris expanded, what was once on the outskirts of the city became a graveyard within the city. Thus, the graveyard could not expand further, and the issue of space continued to grow. Something had to be done. Cremation was common in large parts of the world, but mostly in Buddhist and Hindu countries. In the Christian world, it was unheard of. But the population growth contributed to this method emerging here as well. The crematorium in Père Lachaise was built in 1894 and is amongst the oldest and biggest in Europe.
Donc la cérémonie commence ici. Il faut savoir que les porteurs amènent le cercueil, le placent ici. Le cercueil va rester ici pendant toute la cérémonie. Et il sera, en fin de cérémonie, emmené par les porteurs. Ensuite, le maître de cérémonie va actionner la machinerie à l'aide de ces boutons. Comme je vous l'expliquais, le cercueil donc arrive de la salle de la coupole par cet ascenseur et il va être ensuite emmené vers les parties techniques, c'est-à-dire l'appareil de crémation qui se trouve dans la salle la plus proche, ici. Vous allez pouvoir me suivre.
With cremation, a new problem arose: pollution. Burning dead bodies has contributed to large emissions of soot, heavy particles and greenhouse gases. With modern equipment, the smoke goes through an extensive and energy-consuming process. But the heat from the crematoria can be recycled. Those who are cremated can in this way participate in the cycle of nature.
One of the questions that any crematoria or any city council or local council has to answer when they want to do this kind of heat recycling is they have to answer, what are you going to do with the recycled energy, the recycled heat?
In the little town of Reddickborough in England, there was a great deal of commotion amongst swimmers when it was announced that the local pool would be heated by a crematorium.
Initially, when they first announced the plan, there were a lot of people who had panic, sort of a moral panic, a moral craze, well, how is this possible? But once they explained what was going on, they're very transparent about it. There was a lot of very interesting philosophical introspection about reusing the dead, having the dead give back, what it means to, in fact, have a legacy for those who are cremated.
The notion that our body can be useful after our death is not new. The Swedish biologist Carl von Linné suggested in the 1700s that cabbage should be planted in graveyards.
Linné hade ju en klar känsla för att kretsloppet fungerade och han tyckte det var märkvärdigt att den skönaste mö som grävdes ner i en grav skulle kunna bli en brännässla och den styggaste skurk skulle kunna bli en ros.
There is a certain appeal to the thought of being transformed into nourishment for flowers and trees. And many have found comfort in the words, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But does this recycling really work?
En full stor kropp kan inte bilda jord. Det är ett biologiskt faktum.
Susanna Wijk-Meersak has developed a new and environmentally friendly method of burial. This can turn dead bodies into topsoil as good as the compost in your garden.
Här är ju då förra veckans matrester som redan har blivit jord. Och det här är någonting som inte alla är medvetna om, att en kompost den ska verkligen gå så fort och arbetar så fort. Det är en väldigt god doft.
Topsoil is the layer of soil where plants collect nourishment and contain many organisms that contribute to successful decomposition. When people are buried, they are normally placed below this layer of topsoil. Another problem is that the human body is too large to allow enough oxygen to access, ensuring successful decomposition. Therefore, if our body is to become useful soil, nature needs a little help.
Peter, jag har en fråga här angående t-shirten nu, om du har chans att titta.
Susanna's and her husband Peter's method is patented and called Cremation.
Kina, Korea, Malaysia,
And they have customers across the globe who are waiting for this method to be approved in Sweden.
Det som vi gör med promession, det är ett sätt att imitera naturen. Men det krävde modern teknik också för att göra det möjligt.
This technique involves a freeze-drying machine that even NASA has shown interest in. In the premator, the body is frozen to below minus 100 degrees Celsius with the help of liquid nitrogen.
När kroppen blir så kall så räcker det då med en kort energirik vibration för att kroppen faller samman till ett pulver.
The process turns the body into a substance that can be easily broken down to soil. The substance is placed in a biodegradable coffin and buried in the upper layer of soil.
Om man då gravsätter denna i en frisk och levande jord så blir stoftet av en människa jord på ungefär ett halvt år. Då börjar livet igen, men i en annan form.
Transforming the body into nourishment for new life is nature's way of passing on life. But within modern medical science, there is another possible use for us after our death.
Jeg har nå vært hjertesyk I ganske nøyaktig 10 år. Hjertet mitt helt tynnslitt. Sånn at min mulighet nå, det faktisk å få et nytt hjerte.
If Inga Helene is to live, someone else must die.
Det bare viktig at du klarer å ha at du har strøm på den hele tiden. Kanskje du skulle hatt en ekstra lader, som du har hatt I veska.
Jeg har vurdert om jeg skal kjøpe en tvillingtelefon og ha, sånn at jeg helt sikker. Jeg jo tilgjengelig hele døgnet. Jeg jo vettskremt for at telefonen plutselig skal slå seg av, eller at jeg skal bli tom for batteri.
If a donor with a healthy heart suddenly died, Inga Helene has to be ready to leave for the hospital at a moment's notice.
Du får jo et mye nærmere forhold til forskjellen på liv og død når du kommer I en sånn situasjon. Altså, vi skal på en måte den veien alle sammen på et eller annet tidspunkt, men du vet at veien mellom livet og døden veldig kort.
Hvordan har det gått med siden sist?
Nei, det klart at jeg kjenner jo at jeg blir dårligere og dårligere I pusten. Jeg klarer ikke nå det jeg klarte I januar.
Nei, ok, så det betyr I praksis at det går sakte, men sikkert I feil retning da, egentlig. Ok, det vi skal gjøre I dag, vi skal undersøke det, og så skal vi sjekke hjertestarteren, og så gjør vi en ultralyd for å se hvordan ståa
Ja.
Sånn.
Det å skulle få hjertet fra en annen person, og vite at noen skal dø for at jeg skal leve videre, en ganske tung tanke. For jeg bare tenker på at jeg vil jo ikke at noen rundt meg av mine skal dø for at jeg skal få et nytt hjerte. Men samtidig så blir du jo gal hvis du skal gå og spekulere for mye på det. Så galgenhumor på en måte det som jeg bruker for å komme meg videre. Og det alltid fra at nå det snart motorsykkelsesongen I gang, og vi har jo hatt mye snøskred her oppe, og det jo forferdelig å si det, men det klart at I det går et skred, så orker jeg jo ikke å legge skjul på at jeg tenker, kanskje. Det kan jo være Rikshospitalets regn. Hei du, Ingrid-Len? Ja, men det passer veldig dårlig nå, sånn at du må ringe tilbake senere. Greit, hei. Mitt ombud. Vær nå igjen.
Det nedtur hver gang det ikke
Ja, det litt nedtur.
43 years old. The thought of dying doesn't seem as distant anymore. The physical decline starts when we're about 30. The heart beats slower. The senses are weakened. There are those that find this stressful.
Today, we're going to be talking about dealing with death.
But can we fight back or even overcome death? Many kings and emperors have had this as their life's ambition. The first emperor of China, Emperor Qin, was one of them. About 2,200 years ago, he thought that eating mercury would keep him alive. This is what most likely killed him. Nowadays, it isn't just the rich and powerful who consciously work towards keeping death at bay.
Kom igjen, pappa. Kjør på.
Wanja Shadeen is 77 years old, but she has a body that many 30-year-olds would die for.
Jag tycker det är kul att träna och jag mår så bra av det. Och så planerar jag att leva länge och då vill jag naturligtvis må bra under den tiden. Och därför är det viktigt att man sköter sin hälsa. Och det gör jag genom att äta bra mat och så tränar jag mycket.
For those that seek good health and a longer life, there are multitudes of different methods and products available.
Jeg skjønner ikke hva det her er for noe, altså.
And it isn't always easy to keep track.
Protein, det behöver jag för mina muskler för jag tränar så mycket. Omega-3, det motverkar hjärt- och kärlsjukdomar. Antioxidanter, det gör att inte kroppens celler oxiderar. Och multivitamin, en om dagen så har man dagsbehovet.
Some people reach old age through a rigorous and conscious effort. Others get there by living a completely normal life. Okinawa is a group of islands in the south of Japan. This is the place on Earth with the highest life expectancy.
別にそれという食べ物は決まってないんだが、好きな食べ物はもう豚肉あるいは牛肉、肉類、それに魚類がとても好きで、野菜はもう好き嫌いはありません。何でも美味しく食べています。
Shinpuku Taira is a pretty ordinary Okinawan. He is 97 years old.
まあ無理せん程度に働きますよという、まあそんですな。もうこの年になるとそうあれこれとはもうやってないし、もう無理せん程度に働いてるということです。
We don't know the exact age of the oldest person who ever lived, but Haru Habuka is at least approaching this record. She is 108 years old. She was born in 1905. 6 years old when the Titanic sank. 36 years old during the attacks on Pearl Harbor. She was almost retired when Armstrong walked on the moon. 84 years old when the Berlin Wall fell, and 92 years old when Britney Spears released Hit Me Baby One More Time. What does she believe is the reason for why she has been able to postpone death for so long?
家族がいいから、いやそれでないかなと思います。生かしてもらってるんじゃないのかなとそう思ってもう毎日何気なしにいるんですよね。
As the population grows older, it is becoming more important that we understand the everyday challenges that elderly people face. Scientists at Loughborough University have developed an aging suit, so that young people can also experience what an old body feels like. The suit was originally designed as a tool to improve architecture in hospitals. Many things can be done in a simpler way, but there is still truth in the old cliché. It ain't easy growing old. At the moment, there are only 1.5 in 1,000 that reach Haru Habuka's age. But there is life on Earth that makes her seem like a young girl. Aldabra turtles on the Seychelles are known for their old age. Several of the oldest ones have most likely lived during Napoleon's time, over 200 years ago. But even this life seems short and hectic compared to the oldest living organisms we know of. In 2007, the evolutionary biologist Esker Villeslev set out on an expedition to Siberia to collect Earth samples. What he found in the frozen earth surprised scientists all over the world.
Vi har fundet det, som mange vil betragte som verdens ældste liv. Det er bakterier fundet i den sibiriske permafrost.
The oldest living bacteria are close to 800,000 years old. These bacteria lie frozen in a completely sterile laboratory.
Jeg kan se, Nathan han er herinde og arbejder. Han er full body suit og ansigtsmaske. Så det er her, vi laver DNA-ekstraktioner og håndterer de her prøver med meget lidt DNA.
For several 100,000 years, the bacteria have survived because they only need a small amount of nourishment. And they only draw breath once during the course of a human lifetime. No wonder that the only bacterial colony that Villeslev is willing to bring outside has only lived since the Stone Age.
Den er måske kun 10.000 år gammel. Vi har jo nogen, som er 800.000 år gamle. Noget af permafrosten. Det er jo det fantastiske. Hvis du har sådan noget, selv hvis det er 500.000 år gammelt, så har du altså stadigvæk levende bakterier, som ligger herinde og trækker vejret meget, meget langsomt. Og det har de gjort i den sidste 500.000 år, har de ligget sådan der en gang imellem sådan. Så sover de, spiser de lidt måske, og så sover de igen. Og så efter 100 år mere, så er det. Og så får de lige nok, til de kan reparere deres DNA. Nok energi. Men til sidst, så må de dø, ligesom alt andet.
Everything that lives dies. And for someone to live, someone else must die. This is our way of getting the nourishment we need and keep life going. And we eat and take many more lives than we are aware of. In a single drop of water, we can find enormous amounts of microorganisms. They are the nourishment for other organisms and also responsible for decomposing the bodies of both large and small creatures. One day, even we will stop eating and become food ourselves. Within our body, there is an entire ecosystem. Plenty of bacteria, parasites and cells that live and die in a close-knit community. And the food we eat is crucial for balance in the system. To keep death at bay, we rely on a constant supply of building materials and energy.
For å skjønne, kroppen er litt som en kopp te, den. Hvis ikke du tilfører energi til koppen, så vil den gradvis begynne å bli kaldere helt til den blir som omgivelse. Ifølge termodynamikkens andre lov, som ble oppfunnet av en som het Lord Kelvin, så er det altså sånn at når du har denne varme koppen her, og det er kaldt rundt, så går det alltid en strøm av energi fra koppen og ut, sånn at etter hvert så blir det balansert, sånn at begge får samme temperatur.
The second law of thermodynamics also explains why nothing lasts forever, not even diamonds. Energy in the form of pressure and temperature once created diamonds from graphite. But if this supply of energy stops, the diamond will, in time, once again become graphite.
Og i et sånt termodynamisk perspektiv så er det på sett og vis det livet er. Altså det er en komplisert organismes forsøk på å liksom bevare strukturen sin. Og til det så trenger den energi. Og så lenge den klarer å liksom prosessere energi, så holder den seg ordnet. Og den dagen energistrømmen stopper, ja, så stopper organismen å funke, og så begynner den å brytes ned og går mot det samme kaoset som resten av universet etter hvert gjør.
Kald den teen her nå.
But even if our body must die, a piece of us can still remain. Our DNA can live on through reproduction, but this does not guarantee eternal life.
Jeg som enkeltindivid, jeg er jo et produkt af min forfædres historie og min forfædres udvikling. Men jeg vil så også sige, altså jeg gør mig ikke nogen forhåbning om, at mit genetiske materiale vil blive videreført langt ud i fremtiden. Altså jeg er far til 2 børn. Ikke? Det er jo ingenting. Altså hvis du virkelig skal gøre dig håb om, at dit genetiske materiale vil være noget, du ser mange generationer fremad, jamen så skal du være en, som giver ophav måske til flere 100 børn.
There is a good chance that our genes will end up in a dead end after we die. But according to biologists, dead ends are crucial for the evolutionary process.
Liv og død hænger sammen her på jorden. Uden død vil der faktisk ikke være noget liv. Der vil ikke engang være nogen evolution. Der vil ikke være nogen udvikling.
Humans are merely one of several million species on Earth today. But science presumes that between 30 and 400 billion different species have existed here. This means that over 99% of these species are extinct. But what happened to them? The history of life here on Earth is dramatic. Humans still haven't experienced the worst of what nature has to offer. Most of the species that have ruled the Earth have been extinguished by gigantic catastrophes. Supervolcanoes, gamma ray bursts, huge solar storms, and enormous meteor impacts are examples of incidents that can extinguish almost all life forms.
Der er mange, der mener, at hvis vi ikke havde haft en meteornedslag for millioner år siden, som resulterede i, at dinosaurerne uddøde som gruppe, jamen så ville pattedyrene, som vi er jo en del af, vi ville sandsynligvis slet ikke have været så succesfulde, som vi er i dag.
This is Sudbury in Canada. 35 million years ago, this place was shaken to its core by a massive impact. This entire lake is a meteor crater. Living here at that time, you might call a bad day. But it could always be worse, because this lies on the outskirts of another, much larger crater. Larger than the meteor impact that supposedly extinguished the dinosaurs. It happened 1.85 billion years ago. And at this point in time, the number of oxygen-dependent organisms suddenly skyrocketed, compared to those that didn't use oxygen. Some scientists conclude that this impact may have been a determining factor for advanced life forms on Earth. As descendants of these life forms, we are completely dependent on oxygen. A few minutes without this substance can inflict severe brain damage. And soon after this, we start to die.
Major parts of our cells are actually small power plants. Like this power plant here that uses water power to produce electricity, our cells have developed mechanisms to use the energy from food to convert it into useful energy that supports life. Now, for our bodies, we need oxygen for this transformation, just as a bonfire requires oxygen to burn.
But even though oxygen is necessary for our survival, it is also a substance that contributes to our demise.
Oxygen can react in damaging reactions that will eventually lead to aging or perhaps diseases. This can be visualized in a very simple example. When you cut an apple, it turns brown. It will get wrinkled in a process that we call oxidative stress. And this is due to the overexposure to oxygen. What's true for apples is apparently true for humans. It just takes several decades.
Antioxidants are substances that counteract this process. They can be found in different types of food, like chocolate. We need antioxidants, but we don't necessarily postpone death by stuffing in large amounts of chocolate.
If you eat a lot of antioxidants, that may actually be harmful as well as if you eat a lot of other foods. And in addition, antioxidants may inhibit reactions of oxygen that may actually be useful.
Kult at det her sunt, egentlig.
When the heart stops beating, the cells stop receiving oxygen. They then collect nourishment from the sugars that are in the body. Lactic acid is formed in this process, which leads to rigor mortis. When the cells finally admit defeat, other processes are set in motion. The stiffness goes away and decomposition begins. There is still a great deal we don't know about the process of decay. But luckily, someone has volunteered to find out more.
This center began in 1980, and in 1981 began getting the first body donations. This is the first natural outdoor facility for understanding human decomposition.
The so-called body farm is a 10-acre site that is run by the University of Tennessee. About 100 human bodies are placed here in different ways every year. The aim is to learn more about how the human body decomposes under different conditions. To professionals like crime scene investigators, this can be very helpful.
When a body is found that is decomposing, there's several changes that happen to the body, and that's one of the things that we study here. And we try to understand what those changes are and the sequence of those changes. This individual has been at the facility for a couple of months now. Most of the soft tissue is gone, removed by the insects, but what we have left are some hard ligaments and also the skin. I obviously see it as a dead person, but I also see it as information. I am an organ donor. I would feel good if I could help somebody else with my donation of eyes or heart or whatever is of use at the time to somebody. And I think people feel the same way about this.
What happens to your body after you die can provide useful information to both scientists and investigators. But sometimes it is the study of the cause of death that can lead us to save others, millions of others. Baltimore, 1951. One woman's death leads to a huge breakthrough in medical science. Henrietta Lacks was 31 years old when she died of uterine cancer. She was admitted to Johns Hopkins Hospital, and without her knowledge, a cell sample was taken from her. It turned out that these cells were unique. The scientist George Otto Gay had for many years attempted to get cells to live and divide outside of the human body. And with Henrietta's cancer cells, he finally succeeded. Up to this point in time, one usually relied only on live human beings for medical testing. In most cases, only the poorest people were desperate enough to volunteer for these kinds of experiments. But with Henrietta's unique cells, it was now possible to simulate diseases outside of the body. This led to enormous improvements and developments within medical research. And in 1952, the cells became an important tool in what would be a great medical victory, a vaccine against polio. HeLa cells are named after Henrietta and have since the 1950s become a billion-dollar industry. Today, they are used to conduct research on everything from cancer to genetics, from nanotechnology to AIDS. One of the thousands of people who have used Henrietta's cells for research is Matthias Ziegler.
We're trying to understand some of the fundamental mechanisms how our cells work. And to do that, HeLa cells have been instrumental. You could just imagine, like in this room, there's many different switches in our cells. And in the end, these switches interact.
These molecular switches largely control how cells behave. If scientists can understand how they work, they might be able to manipulate the cell's behavior.
The usefulness of HeLa cells in our hands is that we can disintegrate and look at the individual switches. And once we understand how an individual switch works, we can put them back together and try to understand the network. We can actually look into cancer cells and what may be wrong with these switches. And when we learn to turn some of these switches off, we may kill the cancer cells without affecting the healthy tissues.
The knowledge we now have about how the body works on a cellular level has led to a revolution within medical science. Average life expectancy on a world basis has risen to approximately 70 years old, and it continues to increase. In comparison, the life expectancy in Vienna during the 1700s was under 30 years. One of the world's great composers, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, died only 34 years old. But in his time, one could say he was relatively old. And even if you still consider this too young, compared to a mayfly or an Aldabra turtle, you could say he accomplished quite a lot in his lifetime. Regardless of how old we become, we still want more. The dream of eternal life lives on. Already we are able to integrate advanced technology with our body. It is becoming more and more common to replace damaged organs and body parts with artificial implants. But there are those who believe that we will soon be able to leave our body behind completely.
So the first step is to make human-like robot, which we call avatar, and to make their perfect control system via brain-computer interface.
The Russian billionaire Dmitry Itskov has had a robot avatar of himself constructed that he one day hopes to control with his mind. But his ambitions don't stop with filling the world with such thought-controlled robots. No, he wishes to
finally making the artificial brain to which we can transfer the individual consciousness.
The epoch of cybernetic immortality begins.
Itskov believes that by 2045, we will be able to digitally transfer our consciousness into nanorobots and holograms that can take on any form we choose.
Now we're facing the time where unconscious evolution period has almost finished. And we come to the new era when controlled human evolution can happen.
Whether we will ever achieve eternal digital life and be able to rid ourselves of our bothersome, perishable bodies remains to be seen. We don't know if life exists in other parts of the universe. We might need to live very long lives to find them, but our lives can never be completely eternal. Everything we know of will at some point be gone. Planets, stars and galaxies, and maybe even the universe itself has a kind of life and death.
He's been depressed. All of a sudden he can't do anything.
Why are you depressed, Alvy?
The universe is expanding.
The universe is expanding?
Well, the universe is everything, and if it's expanding, someday it will break apart, and that will be the end of
It
everything.
won't be expanding for billions of years yet, Alvy. And we've got to try and enjoy ourselves while we're here, huh?
The phone call that Inge Helene was waiting for finally came. She has been given a second chance.
Siden sist så har jeg fått en fantastisk telefon fra Rikshospitalet.
hvor jeg bare fikk beskjed om at nå har vi et flott hjerte og nyre til deg, så nå må du bare komme deg ned hit snarest mulig. Det at det går an å sette inn noen andre sitt hjerte i min kropp er jo bare helt ubegripelig. Og jeg hadde skjønt at det kom til å bli stort før operasjonen, men jeg hadde ingen idé om at det kom til å føles sånn som det her. Jeg føler så mye, og det er bare sånn utrolig lykkefølelse å vite at jeg har et nytt hjerte, og det gikk bra, og det kom i tide. Den første dagen jeg gikk jeg 20 meter og tenkte at Gud, det her kommer til å ta lang tid. Og så sa hun sykepleieren at neste helg så går du helt alene. Og da gjorde jeg det, for da er jeg faktisk ute på permisjon og var på shopping. Og det var en sinnssyk god følelse.
She will never know who the heart belonged to, but that person has most likely extended Inger Helene's life by many years.
Det å ha fått et nytt hjerte er jo veldig sånn todelt, fordi at jeg er veldig glad og takknemlig for at jeg har fått det, og så vet jeg at noen andre sitter og er veldig lei seg for at de har mistet en de er glad i. Men samtidig så er det sånn at den personen hadde kommet til å dødd uansett hva de gjorde med den kroppen. Og da er jeg så veldig takknemlig for at jeg kunne få leve videre, og for at det finnes folk som har tatt stilling til at de ønsker å gi bort det de har når de ikke selv trenger det lenger.
Ja.
We can accept that death has a place in nature, but that doesn't necessarily help us when we lose someone we love.
Bygger vi også en treningsstor?
Vi har jo akkurat trent da.
This might be why we humans have always been obsessed with the question, what's next?
Ja.
Is there a life after death?